So our very first story this and President Mahama has granted amnesty to 900 convicted prisoners across the country. Now the move is to mark this year's Republic Day, which falls on Wednesday, July 1. According to a statement from the Ministry of Interior, the grant was done based on ill health, advanced age and satisfactory conduct from the prisoners over the period of incarceration. And meanwhile, Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Prison Service, Vitalis Aye, has assured the prisoners could go home tomorrow if authorities complete their release process today.
It's the prerogative of the president to grant amnesty to prisoners as and when he deems fit. And sometimes he does this to mark occasions. And this is one of the times to mark the Republic Day celebrations tomorrow. And he's granted amnesty to categories of prisoners, as you said earlier, and 900 of them. Yes, reintegration of prisoners is ongoing. Then you look at the categories. A chunk of them are first-time offenders, and they've done 1/3 of their sentence. So it means that these people would have gone through some reformatory works inside the prisons. And it is not everybody that qualifies to enjoy this amnesty, even though you might be a first-timer. Okay. So these are minor offenders, people who have offended in minor ways. So armed robbers are not qualified, rapists are not qualified, people who have used weapon, terrorists, people who have tried anything that is subversion, they are not qualified. So these are probably petty thieves that are benefiting from this thing. And society is supposed to welcome them back. With the paperwork done, they're supposed to be out by tomorrow. But it will take some time because we have just gotten the release this morning, and the prison authorities will have to also cross-check, verify. For all you know, some are already out there because they might have served their sentence. That is what happens. So we might not get all the 900 inside prison as we speak. Some of them might have gained their freedom before the 1st of this month, depending on the categorization of the prisoners. As we said, some of these people in there don't have anywhere to go, or they have people who are not prepared to welcome them. But the issue is, as a nation, we need to work at that. These people are coming back, they have families. The mindset that they are not welcome is not good.
Well, the move has been much anticipated as prison officers have constantly pleaded for amnesty on behalf of some of the inmates following the prevailing conditions at the cells.
Amnesty conditions also are laid out. You should have spent a certain period of time in custody. You should also have shown, like you rightly put it, that you have the propensity to reform. You should also have shown that you have that kind of support in the society, which will make sure that you will be well anchored and you will return back to prison. That's okay.
The prisoners have also been pleading with the state to pardon them. Let's hear one of them.
As Bible-believing Christians, that's right, our masters can testify. Thank you. I'm not speaking like in a hideout. I'm speaking for them also to hear. If I'm saying the wrong thing, they will come in to maybe address it. But I'm speaking the truth. Thank you. We want His Excellency John Mahama to draw closer, bring his ears down, and listen to our officers, so that if they will be given the opportunity to recommend, some of us will not be here. For example, since 1997, I have not written any white paper like Nyako have, or the qualities have did this and that, and so lock up, go and lock it, this and that. We are trying our best, even though it's not easy, but law abiding for all these years. So our masters are doing their best, and some of us also are ready not to put them to shame. If society will give us the second chance, we are going to respect freedom, because freedom is very expensive.
Now, how would you feel to reside in the same compound or live in the same room with an ex-convict? Now, after several years of rehabilitation, the Ghana Prison Service believe that 900 convicts granted amnesty by the president are ready to be part of the society and thus encourages all to help them reintegrate. Now, what do you think? Here are some views from the streets of Accra on the subject.
President John Dramani Mahama has granted amnesty to some 900 prisoners. The question we are asking is the society ready to accommodate, to tolerate these prisoners? How prepared are we to reintegrate the prisoners back into society?
A prisoner is a prisoner. So I can't employ a prisoner in my business.
Even when the person has been released?
No, I can't do that. I can't employ him.
The prisons are overcrowded, so if they are releasing some, I think it's okay.
Are you ready to live with one?
No. No, not yet. No. I don't know.
I don't think they are also human beings. Or maybe the person has gone there, he has, changed. Actually, prison is to change people, to instill in them a good character. So when the person is back, at least I have to hold the person, let the person know that yes, he's still, let the person feel at home, and then make him comfortable so that he wouldn't be able to go back to the previous character that took him there. So I think it is something that we just have to learn how to embrace people. It doesn't matter whether the person is coming from prison or not, he's still a human being. Yeah.
Well, that depends. If they had been reformed, then they are welcomed. But if they are not reformed, then it means they are coming back to also have us, do I have to say, also disturb us as they did before they were imprisoned.
I have to think about it before, maybe.
But as a society, do you think we are ready to live with people we know are coming out of prison?
Maybe the government has to put some things in place so that he can accommodate them for some time before he releases them to the public.
So the general appeal is that government should first prepare a place to reintegrate these prisoners before they introduce them openly to the general public. For Joy News, Gladys Osei-Oredu reporting.
Meanwhile, prison authorities have been urging society to accept these convicts back to their homes on the news of their release.
When a prisoner comes out and you recoil, you reject the prisoner, he's a human being. You understand? You are sending him back to his dark days. So the message we have been sending out is that we have to embrace our brothers and sisters who have actually shown that they have repented from their old ways. And I hope the message will be taken up by people like you for us to know that the fact that you have gone to prison doesn't mean you are the worst person. It's by the grace of God, most of us would have been in worse circumstances. But I want to say something. It is not everybody who is in prison today who has actually offended. Some of them were victims of circumstances and they were not able to put their cases across well. They didn't have lawyers like we have spoken about, you see? Or they may even be illiterate. They may not even understand the proceedings going on. But people like us may have trouble and they will go for the best lawyers and get out scot-free. And I think it is precisely because of this that we have to understand that people can change, or it's not everybody who is coming out of prison who is bad.
Well, joining us is Seth Kwame Boateng, who has been keenly following issues at the country's prisons following his documentary Locked and Forgotten, which partly contributed to the freedom of some of the prisoners, has been responding to the pardon by President John Dramani Mahama.
We have 43 prisons across the country, and presently the population is around 16,000. So 16,000 minus 900, you can just imagine. I would describe this as a drop in an ocean. People outside might think this may ease the congestion there, but I'm telling you, some way is true, but generally, I think we can do more. We have to do more to get the prison decongested. Yeah.
You don't want me to talk about this one, but do you think that your documentary, Locked and Forgotten, would have played any role, would have contributed in any way to the president's decision of granting this amnesty?
Sincerely, I cannot tell, because in that documentary, I place much premium on remand prisoners. And we all know the steps the Chief Justice, together with the Interior Minister and all the parties involved, have taken to ensure that cases of remand prisoners are heard expeditiously. And we know that a number of them, over 100 of them, have been out or are out now. Others have been granted bail. But we are talking about convicted prisoners. Those the President has pardoned or has granted amnesty are convicted prisoners. Some were on death row, some were in life imprisonment, and they are being given the opportunity or the second chance to come out and see if they can correct their wrongs.
Well, away from the prisons now, and newly sworn-in Electoral Commission boss Charlotte Osei has promised to be impartial and work with conviction in the discharge of her duty as chairman of the country's Electoral Commission. Mrs. Osei mentioned this at a swearing-in ceremony at the Flagstaff House this morning. She says she's fully aware of the task ahead and promises to live up to expectation with the necessary support from her fellow commissioners.
I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank my predecessors for the strong foundation they have built at the Electoral Commission. Now it is my hope that together with my colleagues at the EC, we will continue to build and strengthen those structures towards a stronger, more independent, objective and impartial commission. We will work hard to continue the process of internal reforms and ensure a more effective and collaborative service delivery platform, and thereby increase the confidence of all our stakeholders in the institution and in Ghana's democracy. In that respect, I am counting on the support of members of the Commission, the management and staff of the Electoral Commission and the entire nation. From what I've gathered from all the messages I've received, the collective desire of our people is that as chair of the Electoral Commission, I act with conviction and conscience, understanding that it is service to God and country above all else.
Well, President John Dramani Mahama in his address hailed former EC boss Dr. Kwadwo Afarijan for his performance and then treated new EC chair Charlotte Osei to strive to perform even better.
On behalf of all Ghanaians and on my own behalf, I wish to thank the Council of State for the sound advice I received in the appointment of the new EC chairperson. Mrs. Charlotte Osei comes to the EC with very solid credentials in both legal practice and public service. While congratulating you on your appointment to what is a rather tough position, let me remind you with all humility that you're stepping in some very big shoes, into some very big shoes. Dr. Kwadwo Afarijan has proven over the last 2 decades or so that he is a colossus when it comes to elections and electoral systems, and has, despite whatever grievances we as politicians might have expressed against him, either in government or in opposition, distinguished himself creditably and contributed immensely to the stability of our democracy. We are, however, blessed to have some other very experienced deputy commissioners and members of the commission in place, who I'm sure will provide you with some invaluable advice and support in the management of the commission and the administration of our elections.
We're taking a break here on News Today. We'll return shortly with some more. Welcome back. Now, doctors in the public sector will no longer abandon posts en masse at the end of June this year, as they had threatened. Now, the doctors were planning to quit today over delays in firming up their conditions of service. They, however, agreed at a Ghana Medical Association Extraordinary Emergency meeting held in Accra on Monday that they will give government 30 more days to negotiate and fully implement their conditions of service.
To about 1,000 doctors from the 10 regions made it to the extraordinary emergency meeting to deliberate on the way forward. The Ghana Medical Association had earlier threatened to declare its members out of job over government's delay in finishing them with their conditions of service by June 30. The General Assembly, however, decided to extend the deadline to give government more time to address their concerns.
What really binds us is the negotiated and signed conditions of service that is peculiar to the Medical Association and its members. As far as I'm concerned, the ground rules for the negotiations have stated clearly that maximum 1 month, this should be off the table. The General Assembly has also spoken. Beyond that period, we are not going to call any General Assembly meeting again.
Deputy General Secretary of the GMA, Dr. Justice Yankson, says the General Assembly also agreed on the next line of action should government fail to meet their demands by July 31.
Every little bit that has been decided here by way of the implementation processes will be triggered if the employer has not signed that document with us. If by that period the employer has not completed negotiations plus the signing of the document with us, what is going to happen is that the first 1 week there's going to be withdrawal of OPD service. The second week we'll have withdrawal of OPD and emergency services. The third week we'll have a total withdrawal, and that will culminate in the final bits of the decision making, that is the resignation en bloc. So now what the General Assembly has done is that they spelled out the processes.
Some doctors have also expressed confidence in the negotiation process, which they say will greatly boost their morale.
I think that the morale among doctors over the years has been very low. Imagine I collapse whilst operating on a patient, and the hospital will need to call my wife, who is outside this country, to come and buy me medications before I survive. These are the conditions under which many of us work every day, that we have to foot our own hospital bills, even when we get injured at the very hospitals in which we work. That the way to boost the morale of workers is to give them a better conditions of service, which we don't have.
I hope and believe that by the end of this 30 days period, it will come into force. And indeed, the rules of engagement states that it's not just about signing a piece of document, but then it's coming into force with the signatures that will go along with the document.
Matilda Pumaga, for Joy News, Accra.
Now, more than a week after a demolition exercise at the old Fadama slum here in Accra, several residents of the settlement are still without a roof over their heads. Now, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has justified the removal of the structures that have sprung up in the Odo River, it says, are partly responsible for the floods that claimed scores of lives on June 3. Now, though some of the victims of the demolition have returned to their homes, Kwache Afreniama reports that as of Monday morning, there were some who were still without shelter.
Days after the massive demolition exercise here at Old Fadama that saw thousands of structures destroyed, many residents displaced as well, city authorities say they have put in place arrangements in terms of transportation to take these residents back to the northern part of the country. But many of them who've been speaking to Joy News say they've been waiting here since dawn, but the buses are not ready.
Since the morning time, lorry is not yet ready for us to go home. But we don't know whether the lorry will still come or not. I saw 3 cars move to Bimbala station, but we don't know whether here too there will be some or not. Actually, those who are going to north, the Tamale like this, located as Tamale, we are many, more than Bimbala people, but they have to take them before us. We don't know whether our car will come or not.
It's very difficult that some of us has come as well as this in the early dawn, but unfortunately they did not get this in the first car. Even though the way they talk, they talk say that everybody should pack his things to to the Gomba station. No. So as far as they talk that, you see that our things is they many. How can we pack them? So we are deciding to pack them to the place where they dismount. After that, we will then what? Tomorrow we will then come and see whether they will pick us or not.
A team from the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, has also been on the ground registering displaced residents of Old Fadama since Thursday. Joseph Otu is the NADMO Metro Coordinator.
At the moment, we are registering those that have been affected by the demolition exercise and those who are eager to leave to their various destinations. like those who want to go to Tamale, Bimbila. Since yesterday, about 22 of these metro buses have left.
Of course, we've been speaking to some of these displaced residents of Old Fadama who say over there, they are stranded. They've been waiting since morning. The buses are not in.
If they are ready to leave, they say, oh, I have to go and bring my items and so on. And this is delaying the whole thing. But not the buses. The buses, you see, they line up. They line up and the people are there also to enter. But when you call them, oh, I'll not go today, I'll go tomorrow, I'll not go today, I'll go tomorrow. This is the problem.
Many of them there are ready. Scores of them.
Yes, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that the buses are there. The leadership has to be part of the arrangement. NIBO cannot go and start calling them. But I want the leadership to be involved. They know them and they know those who are willing to go.
Distribution of the money promised these residents by the AMA has, however, commenced. Kwache Afreniama for Joy News.
Some children who live in the demolished Sodom and Gomorrah community here in Accra say their lives have been jeopardized. They say the demolition has not only rendered them homeless, but has also affected their education. Joy News' Atani Delali visited the community and interacted with some of them.
I'm still holed up here in the community that's Old Fadama, popularly called Sodom and Gomorrah. It's been in the news following the decision by the city authorities to get into this particular community with bulldozers and tore down their homes, mostly wooden structures. And I'm speaking to the kids because most of the times they are affected.
Yes, some of my father's homes are broken.
Some of your parents' homes are broken?
Yes.
And how did you get the news? Were you at home when they were coming? Were you somewhere? Were you in school?
Yeah, the time I'm in school.
So when you came, their homes have been broken?
Yes.
You saw your parents. Were they scared? Were they crying?
My parents are crying. And me, so the time that I saw it, me too, I started to cry.
Why did you cry?
Because we don't have some place to sleep. So that evening, I went to my friends. So I went and told them they should find some place for us to sleep. So them too, they do it.
We were at home when the team came. I saw them pull down some structures in the area. I was very frightened because we may be affected. I want to return to my hometown. Life will be better there.
As it stands now, most of them are uncertain as to when their homes will be touched. The lots of cases see here. For them, most of them are oblivious of essentially what is going on. But you talk to the adults, they go to bed, they tell you that they cannot sleep because they don't even know when the bulldozer will run through their homes and rip everything apart. My name is Daniel Sabute.
The Polytechnic Teachers Association of Ghana, POTAG, is questioning government's decision to convert polytechnics into technical universities on a piecemeal basis. Now, as you may recall, a technical committee set up by government in 2013 recommended that the institutions could only qualify after meeting certain set criteria. Kwache Afreniama just returned from a press conference by the association and joins me now in studio with more. So, Afre, what are the exact concerns of POTAG?
Well, let's first refresh our minds on how these events have unfolded to this stage. And as you mentioned earlier, government set up this technical committee to look into, to set the modalities for the conversion of the polytechnics into technical universities. This was in December 2013. That committee has since submitted its report, but a key recommendation they made was that the conversion process should take place on a piecemeal basis. That will not take place on its entirety. It will be by polytechnic at a time. And against this backdrop, this technical committee once again set 4 major criteria which would be the basis, form the basis for the conversion. And this includes that a department must be headed. A department in a polytechnic that wants to qualify for this conversion process must be headed by a senior lecturer with a minimum qualification of a PhD. They also talked about the fact that there must be a direct linkage between the polytechnics and industry. That's why nowadays you find a number of the polytechnics signing MOUs with private entities, private organizations. But
what POTAG is saying is that this piecemeal approach where the technical committee has recommended is inimical to their progress and in terms of the education sector. When we're talking about polytechnics, they talk about a number of issues, including high attrition rates. For example, if you have one polytechnic here in Accra that's converted into a technical university, and the others, the other 9, the regions, are not converted, you find more people, more lecturers, more students and lecturers wanting to enroll in this institution, work in this institution in that regard, and that would affect it. He talks about other implications it could have on it as well. We can listen to National POTAG President James Dugra now.
Okay. Well, what we have realized, we are teachers on the ground, and we could see that even now that all of them are even polytechnics, students still prefer other polytechnics because they think that maybe they have gotten the names or what have you. And now when you reduce some of the polytechnics, upgrade or convert some of them into universities, and you still leave the others, you see that there will be these lecturers and then students high attrition, and it's going to affect government. On the other hand, because if we are dodging the what do you call the pressure on resources, there will be more pressure on the resources if 2 or 3 polytechnics are converted and the rest are left out. Students will not be going there, but the teachers and the workers there, you have to pay them, and that will be waste of resources on the other hand.
So that's the only real disadvantage.
Yes, and then the geographical location, and then the accessibility, and then the peculiarity of every polytechnic. You know, when you go to some polytechnics, they are, you know, well oriented in what do you call it, electrical engineering or auto mechanics. Some areas too is mechanical engineering. Other polytechnic is agric engineering and what have you. So if you leave out a polytechnic which is specialized in one area and you upgrade the rest, then what if somebody want to also go and progress, let's say in agric, and that facility is not there, then meaning we are going to be unfair to the other prospective applicants.
So what POTAG is proposing here really is that government halts that process, throws away that particular proposal, and goes by the entire convention.
No, we know we are appealing to government to reconsider the piecemeal approach and then support the en bloc approach, and that one is going to be very fairly distributed because we are running a national state. Is a unitary state, so if anything it should be done, should be spread out so that every region will get a technical university. I think.
Well, that was National President of POTAG, James Duga there, but I still have Kwachi Afreniama, my colleague, right here with me. But Afre, just before you go, is POTAG making any demands?
No, at this stage they say that they are only appealing to government. They hope that government will meet this particular concern, will address this concern that they have. They're engaging with the stakeholders, talking about the NCTE and the Education Ministry mainly.
All right, thank you very much, Kwachi Afreniama there. We're taking a break here. When we come back, we have some business stories for you. Don't go away. To business now, and vehicle owners and commercial drivers will now be paying half the initial increase in their third-party motor insurance premiums over the next 2 years. That's 150% from January next year and same from January 2017. For now, policyholders will be paying 3 times more and not 6 times when the premium increase takes effect from Wednesday, July 1. The reduction in the increase by half was the ultimate decision of the stakeholder consultations last Friday, exclusively available to Joy Business. Now, stakeholders, including the Insurance Commission, have declined comment for now, but earlier, a member of the insurance team negotiating with government, Kobna Addison, spoke to Joy Business on the rationale behind the consultations.
It's important to note that the powers that be spoke to the regulator, and the regulator, doing what is most prudent, asked us to suspend it. I think we should be mindful of the fact that we are in a political economy and we cannot do things in isolation. And that's what we appreciate, and that's why we are here. It's important to note, like I've been telling everyone, that insurance is a science, and we need to gather data over a period of time to come up with a rate. So this whole issue being thrown around that every year we should increase it, every year we should increase it, will be unfair on you, because there may be years that the risk profiles would have improved, yet we'll be increasing it. And there may be years that the risk profiles would have deteriorated. That is when, if we gather it over a period of time and we think that this deterioration of the risk profile warrants an increase in premium, then we'll do it. And that is what we are doing now.
The Special Task Force charged to conduct feasibility studies into the establishment of the Ghana Export-Import Bank is hopeful its recommendations should ultimately bridge the gap between the country's level of imports and exports. According to the chairman of the task force, Steve Williams, the team has done extensive work across various economies to halt the trade imbalance, which is largely blamed for the perennial depreciation of the cedi, among other economic challenges.
Williams said this when the task force presented its report to President Mahama after 3 months of work.
We have deliberated extensively, looked at Exims in both emerging and the OECD economies, and we have come up with a paper that we believe should stand the test of time in this country. We believe that the recommendations of the committee, when implemented, will go a long way to solving some of the structural issues that we face.
The Exim Bank would be the principal financing institution for mainly exports, but also supports the importation of capital goods such as raw agricultural produce and timber that can be used to manufacture other goods. President Mahama, who commissioned the task force in February, said the Exim Bank would be critical in the agenda to transform the economy into an export-led one.
We're currently undergoing a first review of our IMF program, and trade imbalance has been flagged once again as one of the major flaws in Ghana's economic progress. The recent commodity price volatility has shown that the nation does not yet have enough buffers, despite additional forex revenues from crude oil. The Ghana Exim Bank will be an independent institution capable of accessing funds within and outside Ghana, using the strength of its balance sheet.
The former deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, Van Ledo, chaired the task force, which was to, among other goals, identify practices of similar banks in other countries and seek potential sources of funding for it. He, however, passed on just a month into the activities. A minute's silence was therefore observed in his memory.
That's for the business segment. Benedict also is standing by with sports.
You're still here on News Today. We talk sports now, and our very first story is a trending and breaking news. AC Milan have terminated the contract of Sule Muntari with immediate effect. Now, the 30-year-old international midfielder joined Milan on loan back in January 2012 from rivals Inter Milan after playing the previous campaign on loan at the Premier League side Sunderland. Now, Muntari impressed during his time with the Red Half of Milan, and so Allegri, manager at the time, handed him a permanent contract. However, during his 3 years at the club, that's ex-Portsmouth man, has managed just 57 league appearances, and during that spell, the club's form has spelled out of control and his contract has been terminated. So Sule Muntari from next season will not be with AC Milan. He would have to find himself a new club and move on with his football career. Now we'll do some more story, and there is a super clash on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, as Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Hearts face each other in this year's President's Cup at the Accra Stadium. Hearts were initially billed to take on First Capital Plus Premier League leaders Ashanti Gold in the commemorative match, but the Ghana League Clubs Association, that's GALCA, has swapped the miners, that's Ashanti Gold, with Kotoko in the latest turnaround. Here is Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Vincent Opana Samoa on plans for the game tomorrow.
We are expecting a high turnout. Kotoko and House of Folk are playing, even though you know their placement on the league table is not anything to be proud of. But already there's something at stake, because we are still counting how many times have they played, how many times have this team won over the other. So there's something at stake. So we are sure that a lot of people will turn up come 1st July. It may not be as big as what we witnessed on Saturday, but we know that when it comes to House of Folk and Asante Kotoko, there's usually something at stake, and I know a lot of people will turn up.
That was Deputy Sports Minister Vincent Opana Samoa. Well, a member of the Ghana Football Association has questioned the World Cup Commission of Inquiry's recommendation of massive changes in the technical team of the Black Stars. Now, the commission recommends that Aside the head coach and his assistant coach, the other members on the technical team should be hired as supporting staff. And what this means is that the team doctor, physiotherapist, equipment officer should not be permanent. But Winfred say, a member of the executive committee of the Ghana Football Association, tells Joy Sports that recommendation is way off the card.
It doesn't make sense as to the organogram of any of the national teams that lies under the purview of the federation. The commission has no right to determine how the national teams should be run by GFA. All these things are stated in the statutes of FIFA, and we should all abide by. There is no way anybody independent of FIFA can come and prescribe a way that our national team should be run. What difference does it make if the person is part of the technical team or is regarded as a supporting staff? What difference does it make? If by their own thinking they feel that, oh, payments made to certain members in terms of appearance fee were so huge, and for that matter, you should graduate based on your position. Fine, that could be taken on by Congress to prescribe something outside their jurisdiction. I don't think we'll buy into it.
You're welcome back. Now, in our daily scrutiny of the Justice Jamepe report on Ghana's shambolic participation in the Brazil 2014 World Cup, we look at how the Commission blamed poor communication for the hula baloo about airlifting the appearance fee to the players in Brazil. Gary L. Smith of our sports desk has been sharing with us excerpts of the report.
A lot of people have followed the commentary in the wake of the submission of the reports by the government, and a lot of the a lot of the negativity has gone to the Commission of Inquiry because a lot of people feel that they didn't do justice to the mandates they were given. However, looking at the kind of reportage that's been done, my summary is this. The number one body that seems paved with the way everything has been done is the Ghana Football Association, because I'm sure you've heard that they have said many times that the commission were out to get them. Okay, now it's in the interest of fairness, it's been very difficult. If I were a commissioner, if I were Justice Jamepe or Moses Fuamani or Kofi Anatri-Darko, the three commissioners, because I've not had the opportunity to respond to everything that the GFA are saying, and the GFA are not inhibited by any constitutional rulings because we have questions. One of the questions is this, and that is one of the things that the GFA have said that the commission did not do properly. One of the terms of reference that the president gave the commission was simple. In layman's terms, find out why we had to ferry $4 million from Accra to Brazil for the world to see. Find out. Now, if you read the commission's report, it's 396 pages, but only 159 is the real report. The rest are just appendices and financial reports and things. So you have 159 pages of hardcore material. If you read all that, there's nowhere in the report where it states explicitly that, oh, in respect to the question you have asked me, that why did the money not leave early and so on, this is it, this is it, this is it. However, like the Bible, if you read the 159 page and you take it and do some deductive reasoning, you can understand. So here's the answer, according to the commission. Now, the money that is $4 million, which is the appearance fees, which was supposed to be paid to the players, was released by the Ministry of Finance on the 27th of May 2014. It landed in the accounts of the Ministry of Sports. But what we saw, all of us, was that it was only on the evening of 25th June that the plane went, and then it was all over the news and we saw that. So in that intervening period, according to the commission, this is what happened.
The Right to Information Bill, which seeks to make access to information easy, is up for consideration in Parliament. The Committee on Legal and Constitutional Matters, which worked on the bill, wants the setting up of an information commissioner and the charge to supervise granting of information upon request to limit political control in the release of information. Joining me over the telephone lines now is parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe with more on this. So, Elton, what more can you tell us?
Well, the debate on the report has been deferred to Thursday because tomorrow is the national holiday. So debate on this report will commence on Thursday. But even ahead of the debate, the signal is that it will take quite a time before we will see actualization of this bill into law. Because already the report is talking about 50-page document containing only amendments. So you are looking at almost 1,000 or more amendments that the House will have to take them one after the other. So passage of this bill will take, months, years before we will see it actualization. But indeed, the report presented to the floor captures the bill at 4 main, points. It talks about exemptions, coverage of the law, ministerial responsibility, appeal review process, appeal to the Supreme Court, payment of fees, and timeline. Now, the proposal on the floor, which Parliament will have to now consider, is whether or not to amend Clause 53(1) of the bill, which says that the minister responsible for justice has ministerial responsibility for the effective implementation of the Act and may, for that purpose, issue written guidelines to agencies and ministers. But the proposal before Parliament consideration is to amend this bill because, according to them, the committees of the firm convention that the provision may not allow for independence of the process, since the purpose of the bill is to ensure transparency and accountability in government. And it is the consideration of the committee that the ministerial oversight responsibility should be replaced with an independent commission established under the Act to ensure independence of the review process. Indeed, the committee went further to recommend that the Information Commissioner be placed under the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, but we are being told that Strike says that they would not be able to exercise that responsibility because of the workload that they are dealing with. And for that reason, the committee recommendation is that an independent Information Commissioner be established to undertake the issuance of information to limit political control over this particular issue. Also, if you should apply information and you are denied, the bill makes provision for you to go to the Supreme Court and appeal against that particular decision. Now, in the view of the committee, most people would not have the money, determination, or resources to apply for judicial review at the Supreme Court, whereas the purpose of the right to information law is to make it easier for citizens to access information. The appeal to the Supreme Court would act as a deterrent to most people from pursuing the appeal process. And for that matter, they are asking that this particular act be amended to allow people who are denied access to information to appeal against that decision at the High Court instead of the Supreme Court. So there are a few issues. The issue about timelines, which places an obligation on the Attorney General to respond to appeal for information within 21 days. They think that 21 days is just too much. They want its review to reduce the timeline. So these are some of the issues that they will be discussing from Thursday. But indeed, what is clear is that it will take a while before we see actualization of this bill, because we are looking at almost 1,000 amendments that will have to go through the process.
Parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe there. Let's go live to Kumasi now and speak with my colleague Erastus Saridonko on the latest on that story as the president visits some flood victims and the new KGTR lorry terminal at the center of the controversy. Erastus joins us now over the telephone. So, Erastus, has the president arrived yet?
No, the president is yet to arrive, but I can tell you there's so much activity here on the Abuabu #1 bridge, and that is where many of the residents believe holds the core of the flooding problem. Now, they have gathered here because they are aware the president will be here to inspect what has happened to many of the residents. I can count thousands of residents, both victims, opinion leaders, residents from in and around the affected areas. They are here waiting for the president. Just a short while ago, an articulated truck full of student mattresses, and then some truck full of plastic buckets, plastic cups, relief items in general have been parked here, awaiting the arrival of the president.
Erastus Saridonko, thank you very much for that update. Erastus Saridonko reporting there from the Ashanti region. Time now for us to check out what the latest is on the international front right after this. That'll be it for the bulletin right here on Joy News. My name is Kobna Chenchen. Before we go, though, a run through our top stories. President John Dramani Mahama has sworn in new EC boss, Charlotte Osei. 900 prisoners have been granted amnesty across the country may actually go home tomorrow upon completion of their paperwork today. The Ghana Medical Association has suspended a decision to resign en masse following a 30-day deadline given government. And vehicle owners to now pay half the initial increases in motor insurance premiums. That's it for the broadcast. For more news, do log on to myjonline.com. Enjoy the rest of our broadcast.